Welcome back, and joining me for a look at the day's markets action is Cartesian Capital's Anthea Gardner. Well, Anthea, of course, all eyes have been on the US and that election where we've had a Trump victory. I was actually looking at the rand throughout, even last night. It was at 17 rand 40. We saw it at some point trying to get close to 17 rand 80, but right now settling at 17 rand 65. Are we starting to see a materialization of the Trump trade here?
I'm afraid so, Zanati. Hi. So there's no doubt that a Trump win is not great for South Africa. In fact, for emerging markets, probably. And so we did see this rand very volatile today. In fact, it did touch 1782. So I did see it go there, and as low or as strong as 1736 for the rand against the US dollar. The Dow Jones heading for its best day, while our all-share plummets. And there's also been a sell-off in our local bond market. And there's no doubt, I suppose the Trump trade sounds positive, like it's positive for the US, but not great for us. He's threatened to raise tariffs, 60% on goods imported from China, 20% from the rest of the world. So you can imagine what that's going to do to our GDP growth.
Yeah.
I think you'll see a change in trade flows, kind of where the goods and services flow, and therefore where the money flows. The US is South Africa's second largest import market after China. So China's 11 and the United States is about 8.5%, I think, at the moment. So I think it's not going to be great for us. Everyone's expecting Trump to be quite inflationary, or re-inflationary, maybe is the word.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to tomorrow's Fed announcement. We are looking for 25 basis points, but we'll see how that plays out. And of course, this Trump trade is not going to happen immediately. It'll take months before he can change policy or decide to change policy, but the market is definitely pricing forward.
Well, involving itself in the Trump trade is Tesla, because that share's climbed. What is going on here? Is that all Elon Musk and his backing for Trump?
Is that all it takes to pick a winner? So Tesla shares are up, last time I checked, 12%. So this is not a rally on fundamentals. Rather, it's on sentiment and expectation that Trump will protect Musk's companies, right? I think Trump is overall negative for the EV market. They formally have said that they don't understand why, or they've condemned, I should say, EVs, claiming that they're being forced upon consumers and that they will ruin the US automotive industry, which is massive, of course. But I think Trump implementing tariffs on Chinese imports will definitely help Tesla and deter their competitor BYD. Zanati, I read a great line this weekend, and it referred to Trump and his ability to land, or his company's ability to land rocket ships, and the fact that he was, choosing Trump over Harris. And the line went, I have to get this right, otherwise it doesn't work, right? The line said, "Don't bet against a man who can catch a 20-story building with chopsticks."
Yes, I hear it.
So apt.
I definitely hear it. All right, Anthea, well, let's come back home with, I don't know, I was going to say less excitement. We did see some JSE counters coming out with numbers. And actually, I saw growth numbers in Pepkor. They released their annual trading update. But actually, that share price not really reacting positively. And it was quite interesting because even yesterday, that share was down almost 3%, revenue up. Talking about capturing a market share. Even their HIPS does have growth figures there. What did you make of that?
I think it's a decent set of numbers, or decent trading update. Revenue was up 7.8%. And so this year, they've only had 52 weeks in the trading year. Last year, they had 53 weeks. And so compare it to last year's 9.2, it's not as great, but it's still pretty decent.
Yeah.
Their clothing, general merchandise saw an increase of 5.2% in revenue, and the other stuff, the furniture, appliances, electronics, 4.5%. So it's not terrible. The small part of their business, I guess, the fintech stuff, That was up by 26.8%, 27%, call it. But then they had to write down quite a bit in impairments. So and that was, it wasn't anything other than the usual kind of impairment process of goodwill,
Yeah.
trade, brand names, that sort of
Okay.
thing, of 20, of 2 point, almost at 27, 2.7 billion rand.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what's got the market a bit nervous. And then, of
Maybe.
course, they disposed of their building company.
Yeah.
So I seem to think that those are the things that the market is focusing on. And actually, maybe it's just that the focus hasn't been on Pepkor. It's a great company. It's a
Yeah.
share I would definitely own. Um,
Ah.
and maybe that's what it is. It's just down with the rest of the market, or not up
Ah.
as much as it should be.
Ah. All right. Well, let's get to your stock pick for today. Anthea, what are you choosing?
I'm afraid I am going with a Trump trade. I want to buy some US dollars. I mean, already we've seen a surge in the dollar, and there's no doubt that Trump is good for the US dollar. And you can implement that in a couple of ways. If you have an ICE account or ICE platform, you can do the DXY or the DXY, which is the basket of US dollar against other currencies. Or locally, I think you can just buy some US dollars and keep them in a US dollar account. You'd have to have a special a
Yeah.
US dollar account with one of the banks to do that. But you can quite easily. The only problem then is that you're selling rands to buy US dollars. And I know that sentiment in South Africa is very hot at the moment, but I think this Trump win is going to hurt us a bit.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for that insight, Anthea. Really, really appreciate you taking us through what has moved investors' money today. That was Anthea Gardner from Cartesian Capital.